Good evening and welcome to this inaugural edition of the opening kick on the Bama Standard Network. Can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I'm Daniel Petty. You've probably seen me on a few of the other shows across this network, mainly the Final Whistle, but I do some moonlighting kind of across the network. And I'm here tonight to kind of kick off this new show. And I'm delighted to announce the lovely folks that are going along this ride with me. Right below me, I have the sweet lady that you may know by the signs throughout the Alabama student sections in her day, where she kept the opposing fans on their heels and the Alabama fans up in arms. But and she's also, you can catch her also on this network with the Crimson Dynasty. One Miss Hannah Stevens. What's up?
Hi, how are y'all?
Excited to have you, Hannah. Excited to have everybody here. And right above her, man, the no introduction star of the show, all SEC at Alabama, Buffalo Bill and analyst, USFL analyst, former coach, now with CBS. I mean, the man, Gerald Smoke Dixon. What is up?
Man, you said all of that and it's all former. That means I ain't doing something right. But hey, listen, we'll figure out something tonight.
Hey, look, again, I can't tell you how I'm excited to have these two people with me. They are two of the best on the network. And look, everybody knows here at the Bama Standard, we provide you the best that is Alabama. You know, we don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide most of the time. But we also know that football fans love a little more than their own team. And we have absolutely covered the Alabama market. So it was time for the Bama Standard to kind of step out and talk a little more broadly about the SEC, maybe the nation in general and the road to the playoffs. And that's what this kind of motley crew came together to do. But before we jump in, and I want to tell you, these shows, they're not going to be your traditional hour-long shows. We're going to come at you, hit you for 30 minutes and get out so we can give you good information and let you go on about your night. But before we get that started, I got to give a special shout out and thanks to the sponsor that is bringing us out here tonight, and that is the Bryant Museum, and in particular, one Miss Olivia Arnold. The Bryant Museum has been a long time friend and fan of the Bama Standard. This will be our fourth live show. They are having us back September 6th, Friday night at 6 o'clock before the USF game. My man Smoke's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Marvin's going to be there. Justin's going to be there. Steve Brown's going to be there. Holy, Jay Coker's going to be there. Blake Sims. Wait, are championship quarterbacks enough? I think Landon Collins might even be in the building. Guys, we will have a live studio audience. It will be hopping. But again, we couldn't do this without the Bryant Museum. They love you guys. You're the best. So thank you. Thank you for letting us do this show. Thank you for always having us and supporting us. And I also want to give a special shout out to my man, Josh Tucker. He is with Saturday night. Whoa. Now it's Sunday night Talking Bama because the season has started. He does all these awesome intros across the network. Josh Tucker is the man. Check him, my boy JB, and all those guys out on Sunday night Talking Bama now because, again, the season started. So instead, in lieu of them on Saturday night, you can hop on as soon as the game's over and be looking out for that post-game show here on the Bama Standard. But with that said, man, I've done a lot of talking. Let's hop into this show. You know, I think we're going to use this section in weeks going forward to discuss the craziness of college football, which you never know what's going to happen each week to week. So there's always something to talk about and digest on Monday. But outside of Florida State and get their butts handed to them this weekend, there's really not much to debate on the last weekend. So I wanted to get my awesome panelists here and go over each team in the SEC and where their actual chance is to make the playoffs. And we're going over all of you, even Vanderbilt, as small as that chance may be. Guys, y'all ready to do this?
Let's go.
I feel like I'm just smoke's ready to smoke. Okay, so we have broken down the SEC into 4 tiers, and I can go ahead and tell you my panelists over here don't completely agree with the list I've thrown out there, so we may have a little bit of debate going forward on here. But we're going to start at the bottom and go to the top. Our first tier is the bless their heart section, and I think you can kind of see what that means when you see the names. We've got Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Auburn, Florida. Yeah, the Auburn fans already love me in Lee County. I'm sure that just made it a whole lot better. But look, the bless their heart section, these are the teams that really just virtually have no chance in the playoffs. Vanderbilt, look, if this was the EPL, they would be up for relegation. I mean, we'd be trading them out. Mississippi State, look, they got a new coach in Jeff Lebby. He's a great offensive mind. He was with Kiffin when he first got to Ole Miss, and then he went to Oklahoma. He's brought Blake Shapen from Baylor, who is a serviceable quarterback. But, man, what made Mississippi State so gritty for other SEC teams for years was always their defense. And word out of their camp is their defense is non-existent. So just too much of a long year for State. Auburn. Sorry, guys. I know Hugh Freeze is recruiting lights out, and that's what you're going to scream. He is. We knew he was going to recruit. He may even win a game here or there. But I'm sorry, with Peyton Thorne, I'm not buying Auburn, even with all the receivers Hugh Freeze has brought in yet. And finally, Florida. This is a weird one. I think Florida is actually going to be a better team. I think they may surprise Miami Saturday. But they also have the legit hardest schedule in the history of college football, and they may be okay and still have a losing record. Guys, I'm out of air on this. Am I on with this one, or Petty, or you've lost your mind?
Go ahead, Hannah. You can heat them up.
I think I would probably. I mean, as much as I don't like Auburn, I would probably replace Auburn with South Carolina. I probably would.
Ooh.
I think South Carolina. I think they're going to be the team that really struggles this year. I think they're the team that people think are going to do better than they are. And I think Auburn's honestly the team that we are underestimating, only because historically, when you look at when Auburn has new head coaches, that first couple of seasons, there's always 1 year where they have to get a contract extension, right? Like there's one season where they win just enough games, like we finally found our coach, and then the next season they don't. So I think that season may be this season for Auburn. Not saying they do well, maybe hit 500, but I think if I could switch one, I would put Auburn in the next category and put South Carolina in the bless their hearts, because bless their hearts, they just are not going to be good this year.
You know what? I'm not going to hold nothing against this first group. I think you for me, you got it spot on with it. Vanderbilt, it's always tough. I love them. You know, I worked there for a couple of years. Florida, they got issues.
Oof.
Up and down, they got issues. They don't have enough players to match their schedule. There's word out that they're trying to get a new general manager that just left and went to Georgia. So they're having issues of keeping people in-house in terms of personnel. And I think personnel is a new wave of football. Yeah. And if you don't have that going right now, kids are going to hit the portal. You don't have a good team already, so your better players are going to be out of there. And I don't know how long your head coach is going to be there. So they're fighting for their lives right now. So whatever category you want to put Florida and Vanderbilt in, if there's one below that, you can put them in too. But no, it's no knock. It's just reality.
I think it's a reality. I think people oversell Florida because of Meyer and Spurrier. But if you take those two guys away, they're a pretty mediocre football program.
Sure.
Yeah. But that was a long run, and it was a great run, so I can't take nothing from them.
No doubt.
But yeah, I mean, you're right on. Auburn in the next group, can they go up or down? It's a matter of 1 or 2 games, but I'm not going to push back too much on that one.
No, and look, to Hannah's point, and I'll give her credit on this one, you know, Saban even said on game day Saturday that Auburn may be one of the most improved teams in the SEC.
Well,
look, go ahead.
I was going to say, South Carolina really does, besides Florida, look at their schedule. I mean, they after they play an easy game week 2, I mean, we could look at them going maybe a 4 or 5 game losing streak. So that's one also reason why I put South Carolina, bless their hearts, not just because I mean, we can talk about positional players, but I'm talking about, if we're just talking about schedule, that schedule would concern me as an Alabama fan.
Schedule and quarterback. Yeah. And just the last couple of years was truly South Carolina's opportunity to get ahead and get into the 8, 9, 10 win category.
Yep.
They didn't do that. So it's not like their team is better now with a lesser schedule. So like I said, if you flip them, I'm with it. But if you left both of them in the same category, I think we're talking about a couple of games. But I'm with you.
I like that, man. I like that. And it's kind of hard for me to argue. Like I said, I put a few on here I wasn't sure, and I think you've already sold me. Again, I could absolutely interchange South Carolina and Auburn. They have recruited, but again, I don't trust Peyton Thorne. I watched them lose to New Mexico State. watched them get hammered by a backup quarterback, not even Talia Tagovailoa at Maryland. I got to see it. I know Hugh Freeze, again, I think there's offensive line problems. And I mean, if you're not giving Thorne protection, how's he going to get it to these playmakers? So I've got to see it before I move Auburn up. So with that said, we
Daniel, let me hit the brakes on you real quick. There might be a guy on this panel that was a general manager at the University of Maryland that helped put that team together that spanked Auburn pretty well. Don't know him.
I didn't remember doing that. Did I do that?
His name might be Smoking. His name might be last name might be Dixon. It might be me.
Wait, hold on. So tell me about that. No, so you were the GM at Maryland during that time.
Yeah, I even got the shirt to prove it.
Well, dude, I'm not doubting. Dude, look, your football collection makes me not want to doubt anything you say, buddy.
I might have an tag for you to prove it.
So were you part of getting Talia to come up there? And
No, Leah was already there. I got there 2022.
Okay.
Right at that beginning of the season. So I was there for 2 years, and then I stepped away. But that Maryland team wasn't nothing to play with. The Auburn team's not a bad team. No. And Hugh Freeze, they're going to do – I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, Hannah, I would not be surprised if they snuck up on some people. Nick felt that last year.
And I'll say this, Mike Lossow's done a great job. So it's not like you can't give him credit for what they've done there. I mean, that Maryland team could be quite a few SEC teams, the lower part teams. The bless their heart teams, I think last year's team could beat all of them.
It could beat all of them. I love it. Well, okay, so we've talked a lot about Auburn moving up and maybe a certain team that I might have in this next category that should probably go down. So let's roll with it. We've got so you're telling me there's a chance. So for all of those that have seen Dumb and Dumber, you know that this means he really didn't have a chance, but maybe a chance for an upset somewhere along the way, because Hannah, you made a great point about schedules earlier. I think schedules, and you even echoed it, Smoke. I think schedules are going to play such a vital role in even some good teams having lesser schedules, are teams like Missouri having better schedules than maybe they should. But so you're telling me there's a chance. Arkansas, Texas 8-4, Kentucky, and South Carolina. I can already tell that my folks on my panel don't agree with South Carolina maybe as much, maybe should be flipped. But I guess I believe in Beamer with his ability to do special teams mojo. It seems to pull out an upset every year. And they've announced, I think Lenora Sellers is their starter. For those of you that have played NCAA 25, you do know that in 2 years, he's in the transfer portal and may be the best quarterback in the portal. So I don't know if NCAA 25 is a good indicator, but the quarterback they're going with is got a little bit about him. But they've got the transfer, Rocket Sanders from Arkansas. And again, Beamer's kind of that looky guy that pulls a mediocre team up for that one game a season. Hey, watch out, Ole Miss. You go up to that snake pit.
Hold tight. You're saying you have confidence in Shane Beamer?
No, I have confidence in him to win one big game, but I also have confidence in him to lose to Middle Tennessee State of the Blind.
Yeah, you might have more confidence than his team does.
But, are you telling me South Carolina's checked out on this?
No, I'm not saying that they're checked out on him, but I don't know if he's quite in this category with the rest of these coaches and the rest of this team.
Well, okay. Well, Arkansas. So Arkansas is I think Pittman's done this year regardless. And I don't think anybody is talking about the fact that the man on the motorcycle is back in Petrino. And people have forgotten about him because when he was with Jimbo Fisher, he had handcuffs on him. And so you didn't get the full Petrino. Petrino's now at Arkansas. He's got a Boise State transfer at quarterback. They're a team. They get Tennessee the week after Tennessee goes to Oklahoma, and Tennessee has to go to Fayetteville. And Smoke, I know you can attest to this. Fayetteville is a weird ass place to play.
Vietnam is tough.
Vietnam
is tough. It ain't Fayetteville, it's Vietnam, because a lot of whack. So here's what Sam Pittman's going to do. Sam Pittman's going to get that team to play hard for him, and they're going to battle you to the end. And they're not going to lose just because of effort. So I would keep every team in this category, but I would bump one out, the one at the bottom. You can take them out and
take South Carolina
and put the other team up. Yeah.
And look, the one I'm kind of concerned with, maybe Hannah, what's your thoughts on A&M?
I'm actually concerned about Kentucky. And I'm going to say this again. I want to make this clear. Every team has a odd season because of the new schedule. So every team is playing in a different way than they have before. And I'll be honest, I was just telling my friend today, I'm really bummed that we don't have the typical Alabama Ole Miss matchup simply because of rankings. How insane would that to be playing Alabama Ole Miss in a regular season game? We haven't really seen that in a long time. So especially with that high rating for Ole Miss. So for me, bummed about that. But a team like Kentucky, I mean, 4 of their hardest games are going to be on the road. I mean, you look at how they're going. I believe is it Florida and Texas and Georgia, and some
Go to
other
Ole
teams.
Miss.
Do what?
They go to Ole Miss too.
Yeah, 4 hard road games. That's saying a lot. I think Kentucky could easily win all their home games, but when you take those 4 road games, that could really be make it or break it. The thing about Kentucky is this: they're inconsistent, and if they can actually become a consistent team, when they lose a road game, they tend to lose the next home game. So if they can break that, you're looking at a team in the SEC that may not be the team to look out for, kind of like the black horse in the SEC. But based on this, I would keep them here easily, but I'm the most concerned with their schedule.
There's a couple of things that I'm not truly that concerned with Kentucky. A couple of reasons. They know how to run the ball.
That's true.
They play with effort and toughness just because they're head coach. And they're a tough matchup for a lot of people.
Yep.
You saw the evidence of a tough team that's disciplined and just keep you in the game and just hope for something to end up happening at the end of the games. And you saw that with Georgia Tech, Florida State. Kentucky's always going to give themselves an opportunity to win games.
Yep.
And they're not going to lose many of them. And in college football and in most athletic sports,
sure,
there aren't many teams that can just naturally come out there and beat you. So as long as you can play the turnover game, they got the transfer quarterback in. They're going to run the ball 70% of the time, or even split it 60-40. That defense is real.
Very.
They can create some explosive plays with Barryon Brown outside.
Yeah.
Most underrated receiver in the SEC.
So I'm always going to give you the just a little bit of bump when you can run it and create explosive plays.
Sure.
And not allow teams to control the ball by running, because that defensive front is pretty impressive. So I'm with you though. Inconsistent play sucks. It scares me.
I think, Hannah, you made a great point about their road schedule, but if they can pull out Florida or 1 or 2 of them, I think they can be a 9-win team because of what Smoke said. They've got a first-team All-SEC defensive lineman in Deion Smith. Dumas Johnson, linebacker from Georgia, transferred. He's third-team All-SEC. They got a first-team All-SEC lockdown cornerback. And then you bring up Barry and Brown. I think that the key for Kentucky is Vandergriff. We never got to see him at Georgia
and staying healthy. Yeah.
Vandergriff is the difference in them being 7-5 and possibly 9-3.
Yeah.
But even with Vandergriff, everyone's going to say his inconsistent play in terms of accuracy, missing easy throws. Well, the last 2 quarterbacks were the same thing. Levis was the same thing. Larry was the same thing. But they all figured out how to run the ball with my man Sugar Ray and just play physical football. And at the end of the day, there's not a lot of teams that want to go out there and get bloodied up.
Yep. Agreed. Great. Well, shoot, I think we've hammered these guys. Now let's go to what I think is the biggest section. I think every team in this category, and I know this is the one that really got you guys' attention when I threw it up, but every team in this category has a legit shot to be in the 12-team playoff. So I've got questions, says Ron Burgundy. We've got Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Texas. God, I just set the world on fire with that one.
Can I jump out first in the swimming pool?
Do it.
I'm not even gonna put my toes.
Let me give a quick, and then I'm gonna let you jump into the swimming pool before you hang me.
No, I'm not gonna put you out there.
No, go ahead. I'll let you just roll with it, Smoke. What you got?
Yeah, take Oklahoma out of it. That schedule that they're playing is a bear.
However, they do have one of the best receiving corps in the SEC. They've got 6'4", 3 deep, and they've got one of the most veteran secondaries and a first-team All-SEC linebacker. Again, it's like Kentucky, but at a higher version.
I agree with him.
Is Jackson Arnold. If Jackson Arnold can do it, if you look at their schedule, they're going 4-0 out of the gate. If they can beat Tennessee and Norman, then they're going into the Red River Shootout 6-0. I say they beat Texas in the Red River Shootout. I think they're the dark horse of the SEC.
Yeah, we can bet a case of coconut water on that one.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Listen, I'll be honest. I think they lose 4, maybe 5 games, and I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you they'll lose to Mizzou. Just wait. They'll lose to Missouri. And I'll say this, Missouri is the team that I think has continually been the dark horse of the SEC. They've continued to prove themselves, and they've been consistent enough to kind of be underrated. And that is a team that you have to look out for because they're dangerous. And, for me, Missouri 100% deserves to be here, but I agree. Oklahoma, listen, if they somehow do squeak out, then they automatically deserve to go to the playoff because besides Florida, we've talked about schedules. Oklahoma, if I was an Alabama fan and I had Oklahoma's schedule, I'd be trembling in my cowboy boots.
I tell you, I don't like their schedule, but for some reason, I find them going. I have a crazy idea of them going 10-2. But you brought up Missouri. My question for them isn't their ability to go 10-2. It's as if they do. Does their schedule hurt them? Now, I'll say this, Bama fans, be prepared. Missouri catches Alabama at the perfect time. They catch Alabama in a Knoxville Baton Rouge sandwich. And I know there's a bye week in between there, but it don't matter.
Well, you're in a Knoxville going to help them anyway.
You're in a Knoxville Baton Rouge sandwich, and you got a damn fiery Missouri team with a receiver that can stretch any defense in the country, a veteran quarterback, and it's not just him. Weiss, they go 4 deep at wide receiver. And what has beat Bama in the past? A quarterback that comes in and plays outside of his mind with wide receivers that can actually stretch Bama's secondary.
Old
and
Bama.
They're catching Bama at the perfect time.
What did you say?
Old Bama. That's old Bama.
Yeah.
Guys winning loose. Guys
I'll tell you right now.
I'll
tell you right now. Johnny Manziel playing the game he played in Bryant-Denny Stadium has forever helped the rest of these Alabama teams because, we remember, what was it, ULM 2007 through a 10, whatever he said. But listen, I'll say this about Missouri. They probably have one of the most easy schedules in the SEC. You look at the teams they're playing, sure, they have a couple of hard road games like at Alabama, but they could go into that game, have maybe undefeated or maybe 1 loss going into Tuscaloosa. They'll lose in Tuscaloosa, but even with that loss, maybe 1 or 2 losses, you're looking at Missouri, quite honestly, being the team to beat for division championship. So, I mean, listen, you got to take the wins where you can get them in Missouri, roll the dice as well, and got the schedule. I think that's the most favorable, one of the most favorable in the SEC this year.
100%.
So here's my question: what's your question with Tennessee?
Okay, actually, I'm glad you brought Tennessee up. I think Tennessee mirrors another team on this list, and that's the Ole Miss Rebels. Outside of one position, and that's quarterback. I think Ole Miss, Nico is the question mark. We all know the talent's there. If he can do what they think he can, Tennessee has a real shot to be in that damn playoff. But Tennessee's got the same question marks Ole Miss does, and that's the back 7. They had several guys transfer out in their secondary. They're bringing in a lot of young guys. They've got some length, but they have nobody proven in the secondary. They have the best defensive end in college football, and everybody's going to know that kid. But I think their questions mirror Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the secondary, but I'm going to throw one more caveat on Ole Miss. I'm a lifelong Ole Miss fan. I love the hype. Nick Saban gets up there and says, look, it wasn't skill position or coaching that the reason Ole Miss couldn't beat Georgia and Alabama. It was the guys in the trenches. And Ole Miss looks like an SEC team in the trenches. But Ole Miss has history. And I'm sorry, I can't get past the history. They've never done well with expectations. They don't have them very often. And the times they have them, they've shit the bed. And 2009 was the last time they were preseason top 10. They ended up in the Cotton Bowl with a 9-4 record. Before that, it was 1970. This isn't a program that's used to seeing their name. And I know history's done with NIL and kids don't know all that old shit. Maybe Smoke can tell me I'm crazy. But Ole Miss has got to kind of prove it to me when the lights are on.
So here's a couple of things that I'm not going to take what you just said seriously, because you said I'm an Ole Miss fan.
I am.
Yeah. So you're just gonna feed yourself rat poison, and hopefully you don't need it.
No, 43 years of history.
Listen, you got a good team. You got a good team. You got a good coach.
Yeah.
The only thing that you want to see, just like everybody else wants to see, how well do they gel together? Because they've gone out and got a bunch of pieces, and hopefully they can put it all together. What we need to understand about college football is that the sexy teams look good in August and September. Real football is played October, November. If you aren't ready to play the brand that's won national championships, not getting to the playoffs, but won national championships in meaningful games, you saw what happened on Saturday. And when you look at it, you got to say Texas can play that brand when need to. And that's it on this list.
What you brought up though, Tennessee, Smoke. I do want to circle back to that real quick. You asked why I mentioned Tennessee. What's your thoughts there?
Tennessee just can put pressure on you just because of the pace that they play.
Yep.
And they're always going to win 8 to 9 games.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, the game is going to slow down.
Yep.
And you're only going to get 70 plays. And with those 70 plays, you're going to have to execute at a high level. Run the ball. Stop letting the ball get ran on you to control the clock.
Yep.
See, your receiver play scores a bunch of points when it's hot, when it's perfect temperature outside. But there's going to be a game or two where it's muddy, it's wet, and it's inclement weather, and you have to play the game by turning around, handing the ball off, and maybe winning with a field goal at the end. A couple of years ago, they beat Bama in a shootout. But every game is not going to be played that way. So does Tennessee look sexy and win a bunch of games? Yes. Does Ole Miss look sexy and win a bunch of games? Yes. But they have some guys up front that at the end of the game, when Lane wants to get into his bag and run the football and control the clock, he has that.
Yep.
Texas has that with Sark. The rest of those teams, they're just pretty on paper.
Yep. And can I add one thing about Ole Miss? You're not giving Lane Kiffin enough credit because he is a product of Nick Saban. And I'll tell you this right now. When the whole coaching tree was going in order, if you look at one coach that was under Nick Saban at some point that would have come to Tuscaloosa, I'd have wanted Lane Kiffin because I think he gets it when it comes to controlling his team, controlling the mindset, but also he has not been in this position before, but I think he's the right coach for the position. And I'll say this, he's not a Ryan Day. He's not going to choke in big games every single year and, you know, be like, why don't we have him as our head coach, right? I think you put Lane Kiffin in this position, and I'll say this too, Ole Miss, I think, deserves to be in this, maybe even the next category. But, you know, I think you're underestimating Ole Miss. And I'll say this, as much as I'm bummed we're not playing them because I love the game, I'm also glad we're not playing them because I'm not sure we would win the game.
Well, let's okay. Before I was going to go ahead because you segged perfectly into putting on the next list because I want to know who you put. But I'll be honest, Ole Miss fans don't want Bama on the schedule either because even in Ole Miss's best years, Bama finds ways to whip that ass. So it's like, look, Bama owns Ole Miss like no other program. It's crazy.
Yeah, Nick's own every SEC program.
Yeah. Well, Bama
I mean, there's a reason every
own a lot of
SEC
people.
team has had numerous head coaches since Nick Saban's been in Tuscaloosa.
But you made a great point, Hannah. You would have Ole Miss. I want to know what teams you two guys would. I'm not going to talk on this list because it's self-explanatory. We're going to piss some people off. But
can I say one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that everyone gives Nick credit for Lane Kiffin, but do we understand who Lane Kiffin's dad is?
Money.
Yeah, so it's not like that guy just jumped out of space and disappeared. He's been around great coaching.
No, and look, Pete Carroll had a lot of that influence too, man.
Nick needed Lane as much as Lane needed Nick, and nobody wants to say that. I'll say it.
Well,
if Lane does not show up and start putting up points on the board, including with Mike Loxley when he leaves, and then Sark comes along, this Alabama train falls off because 3 yards in a cloud of dust wasn't doing it when you're not scoring 40 points. So as much as Nick will say Lane needed me, Nick, you needed Lane as well. And you guys were a great marriage. And then we all know some marriages don't work out for whatever reason. But it was good times, though. It was fun.
And I want to add one more thing that I agree 100%. And when Lane Kiffin had moved on, I did ask Nick Saban at Media Days, how has Lane Kiffin improved you as a coach? And a lot of people have asked me for that question, but it made Nick Saban think because a lot of people don't realize one of the reasons Ed Orgeron was kicked out of LSU, he wouldn't adapt. He wouldn't kind of morph to the game. And Lane Kiffin helped Nick Saban change the way he played. If Lane Kiffin ever came to Tuscaloosa, you're looking at not getting Blake Barnett, a Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts type of mindset playing.
Right out.
We were still, I mean, Nick Saban was still with the pro-style quarterback. He would have loved a Jake Coker. You know, but Lane Kiffin helped him see a different vision. And because of that, you're looking at a different Alabama offense that is still in a different trajectory because of that, because of what Lane Kiffin was able to do. And he was the only guy that could get Nick Saban to listen to him.
Lane Kiffin allowed Alabama to win games with Blake Sims.
Yep. 1,000,000%.
100% he did.
No knock on Blake.
Yeah.
Blake, that's family. That's my brother.
Yep.
But to go to the national championship game or semifinal game against Ohio State with Blake Sims as your quarterback.
Yep.
Who was a running back 2 years prior. So yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
Look, man, I guess it is Ole Miss put their chips on the table. It's now or never time in hotty toddy land, as Reese Davis said it. Let's see if they put up.
I'm just happy that was one of Nick's assistants that wasn't afraid of just facing the big dog and going at his neck whenever needed to.
Yep.
Shout out to Lane Kiffin for that.
Yep.
With that, then here's the mortal locks list, guys, and I want to know who I don't have on it from this I've got questions list that need to be on the mortal locks with Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, I'll say it first. Take Bama out.
No, not doing it.
Listen,
I agree.
Listen,
am I the Ole Miss fan on the show? Are y'all the Bama people? What are we doing?
No, we're just honest.
We're logical.
People.
I am too.
We're okay.
Y'all go first, and then I'm gonna tell y'all why. I'll let y'all run this.
I will let you
first.
tell. Okay, Texas should be on that list.
Yep.
Texas is a better team.
Yep.
They have better players.
Yep.
Right now, Sark and Kalen, Sark's a better coach.
Yep.
They've been doing it longer. Sark just went in Tuscaloosa and bust up Nick. They were
Sark
just
also made it to the playoff. People forget that too.
Yeah. And this is not from where Texas was, what everyone thought Texas was when Sark got in there. They were bottom feeders.
Yeah.
This is a legit team that's going to contend for the national championship. And if they play Georgia in the SEC championship, they can bust Georgia up. I would take Georgia. I would take Alabama out. I'll put Texas in. And I know that you're saying that Georgia is a lot, but at some point, talent does not win every single game.
That's right.
There's a lot that's been going on that's been getting swept under the rug with talent.
Yep.
Oh,
and that talent is running out. Injuries are happening. The season's getting longer.
Arrests are happening.
I'll say this bold statement. I could easily say Georgia is not a shoe-in for the SEC championship this year. I think it's going to be the hardest year in the East for Georgia to win it all. But can I piggyback on what you said about Alabama?
Go ahead.
Love Alabama. Obviously, you can tell I love Alabama. But if we're being logical, Alabama does not deserve at this point to be in a mortal lock. Texas beat us last year. Okay. Texas made it to the playoffs, and they are a good team. They're returning a lot of good players. They have a lot of good players. Their depth is scary in numerous positions. If you're an Alabama fan, as an Alabama fan, I don't want to be a mortal lock. I want to play with a chip on my shoulder rather than a target on my back. And Alabama statistically does better when we're not ranked number 1 or number 2 because we get that chip. We get that, you know what, I'm going to show them. And the way we played last year, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. The way we played, beginning of the year, even into midway into September, October, we did not deserve at that point to even be in the playoff. The way we played, like you said earlier, those true grit teams in October, end of September, October, even in November, those are the teams that make the playoff team, and that's the team Alabama became. I don't think week 1, week 2, we're going to see the team of Alabama. They're going to be their best. Not saying they can't be, but just saying for right now, I agree with you 100%. I'd put Texas as a mortal lock based on last year and what they have now, and then we'll wait and see what Alabama can do. But, that's just my opinion.
And I'll just piggyback off that again. We do understand that this is a completely new staff, minus Robert Gillespie and Freddie Roach. Yep. New terminology on defense, special teams, and offense.
Yep.
Therefore, it's going to take some time to get adjusted. And I think the time is going to be a 10-2. I think the time is going to be they'll get into the playoffs, but I wouldn't say they're a lot. This Texas team is together. And I wouldn't be shocked.
Down to one scholarship running back over there in Austin.
Yeah.
Listen, okay. Hit the horns. Guys, running backs are a dime a dozen. Go get one. Dads.
Okay.
Dime a dozen. I'm just telling you. When you can turn around and stick the ball in somebody's chest, and all they have to do is run through a hole before they get touched by a guy 3 or 4 yards away from them. If they make one miss, they can score.
Yep.
That's not a position that's going to make anybody, especially myself, like nervous.
Yep.
Now, if you lost 3 of your offensive linemen and your quarterback, now we have a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's your running back. Just go get the safety or go get the linebacker that played running back in high school and stick them back there and say, hey, listen, run through this gap right here. It's called the A gap, B gap, C gap. That's all you got to know. 3 letters in the alphabet, A, B, C. I'll teach you how to run inside zone.
Yep.
Look at that guy right there. If he goes to your left, put your left foot in the ground and go to your right. Yep. Vice versa. That's it. And on blitz pickup, you have that guy over there. If he leaves, get in the route. If he comes, block him. I just taught you how to play running back.
Yeah.
Give me a freshman.
And I'll say this too. There's a lot of examples right now, and especially old school. There are a lot of players playing both ways, both offense and defense for a reason. Because a lot of times your defenders are really good running backs because they know how to read a defense, and that is something that is underrated when it comes to a player. If I was able to pick a guy who may or may not be able to read a defense, or pull a guy from a defender that is fast and quick, let's do that. And I'll also say this about Alabama's offense. Said it before, say it again. I am not opposed to Jalen Milroe running some wildcat, because homeboy is built like a running back, and you might as well utilize that in your advantage. And if a guy like, Auburn can never do it well. They've never been able to execute having 2 or 3 quarterbacks ever in a system, but Alabama could find opportunities. And I'll say this too, and then I'll shut up. One of the Alabama's biggest downfalls is not having depth in the quarterback position experience-wise. When if we were able to have a quarterback, like it worked out well with Jalen and Tua and Mac, but what would have happened if Bryce Young went down, right? What would have happened if you would have had other star quarterbacks who went down, the guys didn't have reps? If we could have an opportunity for there to be some plays where Ty Sims under center with Jalen Milroe and Wildcat, then we have a little bit of, I call it a hedge fund when it came to Alabama's offensive game.
I'm not gonna go wholesale with you and say I like the 2 quarterback platoon system. I'm not a big fan of it, but I am a big fan of building your team through like realistic and game time reps.
Yep.
And at some point you have to find reps throughout the season. If it's a blowout, if it's saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you the last 5 minutes of whatever game and let you go play, because we understand that injuries are part of the game. And we have to develop, and you don't get developed hanging out on the sideline.
That's right.
You get developed by playing. I just think that Quinn Ewers is a better player than Jalen Milroe. And I think Quinn Ewers is one of the better players in college football. I believe in Sarkisian's offense. I believe in what Texas got. That offensive line is real. That defensive line is physical. Linebackers are good. They took Bama players, and we're forgetting about Isaiah Bond and Ibra and all those guys. Like, they're there. Like Isaiah Bond can, Sark can underhand pitch. You remember those underhand pitch throws that you were doing with Jalen Waddle and Smitty and all those guys? Yeah, Isaiah Bond can do that too.
Yep.
Now, guys, this is mortal lock to make the playoff. And I am going to add 3 teams, because there are 3 teams I do think that are going to make it on the other list, even though I have questions. But who do y'all want me to debunk first on y'all's debate, Georgia or Alabama? Because I'm about to tell y'all why both of them are locks.
Bama.
Bama? Okay, 2 words. Les Miles. Do I need to keep going?
What about Les?
Well, let's see. Les Miles took over a team that Saban built at LSU that was less talented. He ain't half the damn coach Kalen DeBoer is, and won a national title while eating grass. Kalen DeBoer took over for NAIA legend Bob Young and did nothing but win titles. He goes to Fresno. What's he do in COVID? 6-6. Then 9-3 with Fresno. Goes to Washington, who had almost died, and has them in the damn national title a couple years later. He didn't have the talent he's got at Alabama. He has a higher winning percentage coming into Alabama than Nick Saban did. He's done nothing but win. And I get NIL, but NIL hits every team. Nobody has depth right now. Nobody has that type of backup. So that's just the way of the world. But what that says is everybody's got key holes. Alabama's is talented. And I promise, I'm the weirdest fan on the planet. I'm an Alabama grad who loves Alabama that's also an Ole Miss fan. It gives me a weird-ass perspective. But that perspective gives me a chance to step back and kind of take off my nothing but the tide glasses. And I can't help but fall in love with what the ability that DeBoer and Sheridan can do with this offense. And all you got to get, they're 10-2 and they're in it. And I can get Alabama to 10-2 pretty easy with their schedule right now. So,
hey, I took as a mortal lock to win the whole thing. I didn't take it as a mortal lock.
Texas, Texas's schedule is why. Texas's schedule, smoke. Look, Texas belongs on there mainly because their schedule. They got Oklahoma got the short end of that stick. Texas got the schedule coming into the SEC to go win now.
I
want to see them do it. But I do want. I'm sorry, SEC. Once you've gone on that rugged train of Bama, all these teams, but then you got to play Auburn and Jordan-Hare, go to Vietnam. There's some they got to go to Vietnam this year. They lost last time they went to that place.
Texas is built for the SEC.
Well, speaking of built for the SEC, I don't have many connections, but I got a guy that's pretty connected to Kirby in Georgia, And believe what you want, Georgia hasn't lost a regular season game in 3 years. Their one nemesis is Bama. They are on the schedule in Tuscaloosa. And there's whispers coming out of Athens that this is the best team Kirby's ever had. And that's coming from Kirby. So they might not win it all. You can mortal lock Georgia's ass in the playoffs. Sorry, it's happening. They are in the playoffs. The other three, I'm going to Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas.
Yeah.
That's my other three.
I'm with you, but if Kirby's saying this is his best team,
Kirby is.
I would love to see if he has a first overall pick at defensive end.
Hey guys,
you got to hop off, Hannah.
I got to hop off only tonight because I have to pick up my dog by 7:45.
Well, we will see Hannah back on Friday night at the same time.
Not a bulldog. No,
we kick those. Hannah, we enjoyed it, and we will see you on Friday.
Yep, sounds good. Bye, all.
Well, Smoke, man, we've killed these. Now I'm gonna show this real quick. We've gone through what we think as humans, but the computers have a little bit of different take. The computers fully agree with you on Texas. They've got Texas as the second highest percentage to get into the playoffs. Alabama's third. I'm telling you, man, I love them, but still 57%. That's a coin toss. The one that struck me, and I didn't have LSU on the list. I'm an idiot, by the way, Smoke. I somehow forgot LSU, but I've got more questions about LSU's defense. Sorry, the question's their defense.
What about their quarterback?
Yeah, and Nussmeier, you're replacing a Heisman freaking winner. Sorry, but look at Ole Miss down at 21%. The computers are not high on the Rebels. And there's another, I think it's the Atlantic or something has another poll. I don't know where they get these damn computers that make this stuff up, but it had Ole Miss at 47%, which was still kind of in that same range in the SEC.
50-50.
Yeah, I mean, that is.
I'll go with that. I'll go with 47% odds with Ole Miss.
Dude.
But I just truly believe that Texas is a lot better than what people are giving credit for.
No, I think I'm just one of the idiots that's I want to see it again. I know they came into Bryant Denny, and look, I get it. I get why their offensive line is maybe the best in the country.
That left tackle's real.
With that said, Smoke, I think we put them in tears. Y'all have told me I'm crazy, which I am. But man, I really want to look at this next segment because I'm excited about the road to the playoffs. We've got games coming up, and we've got games this week that I think go a long way in week one in deciding who we could possibly see when the 12 teams roll out. And the first one, and man, this is a big one in Atlanta. We've got Clemson at 11 Central, noon Eastern for you normal people on ABC. At the not a home game for Georgia. Number one, Georgia's hosting Clemson. 14-point favorites in this game, over under 49. My question is this, Gerald. A lot of people feel like Dabo is starting to be on the downhill of that mountain that he had created at Clemson in the new era. I mean, do they have a shot at giving Georgia a fight? Is Klubnik, is he going to come? I mean, he had high expectations coming out, but do they got the guns to play with Georgia?
No. I think the game is going to be somewhat close early, but again, the brand of football that Georgia wants to play up front, Clemson has guys up front early, but the process of just beating you up. Mm-hmm. I think in the third quarter, you're going to see the separation. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Clemson has enough horses to run in this race. And the quarterback, Carson Beck, is, to me right now, coming out of the chute, he's the best quarterback in college. Klubnik, he don't do it for me.
No.
I know that they said they want to get back to, speaking of Clemson, want to get back to running the ball with Phil Maffa. I think Phil is physical, but you're playing right into Georgia's hands. That's what Kirby wants. If you can open it up and play space ball with Georgia, you have somewhat of a chance. But if you want to get downhill and run 12 personnel, 2 tight end runs, yeah, they're built for that. And Clemson's offensive line physically is not going to be able to hold up to Georgia's defensive line and Georgia's front seven, even if they have 3 or 4 guys that's just coming out of wherever they're coming from, not being football players.
When you And you talk about him being the best quarterback in the country. Nobody touched him last year. The few times, the one Bama game when he got pressure, nobody's really seen what he has to do under pressure. But when he doesn't have pressure, man, he doesn't miss a pass. But what does he do without Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey this year? I'm assuming they've got some kids that are about to step up.
Yeah, Oscar Delp is a good player. Georgia's not going to have issues with players in terms of getting good players in. No. And Mike Bobo's going to understand how to truly get the best out of them. And even though it's the first game of the season, I think this is where you're going to see Kirby come out and play and show everyone that even though I'm in Operation Rehab with all my problem childs over here, I don't think this is the game that's going to give them that much issues. I think coming down the line and during the season where you see depth kind of play a part in wins and losses, and when you get into a tight game against good on good and you see character really play a part in it, because everyone believes that talent wins alone. Talent wins your game when you're just over head and shoulders better than the next team. Yeah. But when it's good on good, your good players are going to have to play the proper way and discipline and be consistent. When it's good versus average, the good team is always going to beat you, even if the average team plays good.
Couldn't said it. I couldn't said it any better, Smoke. But I want to go back to, I do feel like Clemson is somewhat on the downhill, and how this, I'm not going to break down the game any better than you do, but how this plays into the overarching line of the playoffs is we just saw Florida State, who is the ACC favorite, go down to Georgia Tech. If Georgia just clubs Clemson, that could knock the ACC into turmoil. ACC may struggle to get one team in the playoff. And again, if you're looking at playoff spots, there's not going to be an at-large coming out of the ACC. They're going to get they're going to be a one bid and done. And this could be after last weekend and this weekend could be the start of the chaos in the ACC.
If Georgia comes out and give Clemson a 20 burger, you can put a bow and tie it up for Christmas present for the ACC. It's going to be solely left up to Miami to hold down the fort with those guys. And again, the ACC has put themselves in this situation.
They have
for a couple of reasons. Whining about not getting in, not showing up when you do have an opportunity to play in bowl games, and then you go over to Dublin, Ireland, which if I was an AD, I would never schedule an international game for week 0, and I don't care who I play. Unless I have a team like Georgia or Texas where you're just better than everybody, I would try to keep that game as neutral site, and that's called in the United States, and not travel overseas to play a football game unless I'm getting a lump sum of money.
And it's a guaranteed damn win.
Guarantee win.
Yep.
You're putting yourself in one of the toughest situations. Florida State was already in a tough situation, getting 60 burgered by Georgia in the last game that they played. It's hard to overcome that with a new team, with the best players that was on your team in the NFL. Like Florida State, that's a new team. Like everything starts over every single year. And I think Nick Saban and Kirby Smart are two of the better coaches to reset their team every single year. It's not a continuation of what we did last year. It's the beginning of what's going to happen this year. And I don't think that Florida State has woken up from that nap yet of not getting into the playoffs. And you can see the lingering effect.
I absolutely agree with that. You saw it in Ireland, man, and Georgia Tech and slapping that butt. All right.
And Georgia is hungry to prove that the only team that beat us last year was Bama, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have been in the playoffs. So Kirby got his group, and they're ready to show the world that they do belong.
And Smoke, that's why I have them as a lock, because I don't care about their number 1 ranking. They got a chip on their shoulder. They didn't make the damn playoff. They didn't make the Final Four last year. They want to win that damn thing again. There's going to be an angry bunch coming out of Athens. You can tell about half of them are in jail all pissed off.
Yeah, I think Texas wins the SEC, but I think it's Texas versus Georgia.
Nice. All right, before we get to the last game that we're going to discuss, I do want to talk hit up one more time. Well, not one more time. I hadn't hit them yet. Let's hit our other sponsor, Title Towel. Look, if you're coming to Tuscaloosa and you need to let those other fans know what's up, you need to have that title towel in your hand, swinging it around like you just don't care. Let them know. I need to get one so I can hold it up for this show. Every other show I'm on, I got one and people hold them up. But
I can grab mine real fast. I'm just going to dip out to the right and come right back.
Dude, you run a 4.3. It might be boom. Look at that.
See how long it's taking. Keep counting. Keep counting.
5,
Keep counting.
4,
I'm back.
3, 2. Fastest man in Alabama history.
I'm back.
Title. He's got it. Check out whitwillsports.com. Hey, and if you tell them the code standard, you will get a discount from Title Towel. Look, man, don't come to Tuscaloosa without your Title Towel. Let those other fans know you are the number one Bama fan. whitwillsports.com. I promise you, Whitwill, I'll have that a little more ironed out on the next go. But look, Whitwill is one of our biggest fans at the Bama Standard. We love those guys. They're always in our comments. Absolutely. If you are a Bama fan, give a good Bama fan business. Go to whitwillsports.com and get your Title Towel today and tell them Standard sent you.
Buy a bunch of them. Buy 100 of them. Come on in, Tuscaloosa.
Hundreds. Yeah, come on in.
Hundreds.
All right, man. I've been gone longer than I said 30 minutes, and here we are at 50 because, hell, we love talking football. I do want to hit one more game before we get out of here on the night that I think will go a long way in this week one. And look, football season long. A lot of times these week one games you can make up for. But I do think this one is going to play a key role because of the teams playing in it and one that could still an at-large bid. And look, 7:30 ABC, Kyle Field, where Notre Dame's coming down to. Number 7, Notre Dame going to number 20, Texas A&M in the Mel Milkman Cheerleader Stadium Central. A&M, a 2.5-point favorite with 46.5 over and under. We got Mike Elko. We got Connor Weigman coming back for A&M, who looked really good before he broke his foot early last season. We know they've got 2 of the best defensive end combos in the country in Turner and Scourton. Those dudes, people, if you don't know the defensive ends at A&M, you're going to know them after this first game, and Notre Dame definitely will. And look, Notre Dame coming in a third year under Freeman. He actually had an interesting take earlier this week. He said his son came in and they were playing NCAA football and asked him to play, and his son wouldn't let him play with Notre Dame, so he decided to play with Texas A&M. And he said, crap, he realized he started learning a thing or two. So maybe did a little bit of scouting on A&M through NCAA football, which I thought was freaking hilarious and gold. But I'm going to let Smoke break the game down, but where I think this goes a long way, I'll let him break it down and tell you why I think this goes a long way in determining the SECs, maybe what teams get in and the playoffs in general.
You know what? Let me hear your thoughts on why this game is going to be so important for the SEC. Then I'll get down exactly what I think is going to happen. Because
Notre Dame is one of the teams that they're not in a conference still, and they can absolutely still an at-large bid. If they can drop one to Texas A&M early, who's not one of the SEC powers, and go ahead and get a loss, Notre Dame is one of those teams that at 10-2, they're going to be on the bubble to getting in. If you're an SEC team, forget the SEC chant. We're now on the 12th team. There's only so many at-large bids you can grab. You need the teams, the small Power Fives. You need the Notre Dames to lose and lose early. If you're one of those teams that aren't going to win the SEC or be in the top 4, that may be the Tennessees, the Missouris, the Ole Misses that are right there on that bubble, Notre Dame can be the team that screws you. So if you don't like A&M, think they're weird, whatever you want to think about them, you might want to be pulling for Texas A&M come Saturday night.
If Notre Dame goes 10-2, they're in the playoffs. Notre Dame is college football. Let's just put that one to bed. We can say what we want to. It's about selling tickets, making money. The NCAA understands Notre Dame in playoffs in college football means a ton. So let's put that one to bed. Second, they're not going to lose to A&M. Sorry. We do. I mean, it is a road game.
Vegas knows something.
And listen, I might be losing some money, and I'm fine with that. I've been wrong before, and I might be wrong today, but I'm gonna go ahead and bet on me. It's a road game, and last time I checked, Texas A&M. This is a new coach, isn't it?
Yeah, Mike Elko. He was at Duke, went 9-3 at Duke, and
I'm being funny. I know.
Oh shit, my bad. I just gaslighted right on that one, Smoke.
No, you're good. So at the end of the day, when you get a new staff and a new coach, that means your team wasn't that good last year. When you lose your better players, meaning your best defensive lineman, Walter Nolan, interior lineman, and you lose weapons outside, Evan Stewart, that's now at Oregon.
He's a stud, by the way.
Yeah, that you haven't gotten better. You've gotten worse. And Notre Dame is everything. This comes down to matchup, and most games comes down to how two teams match up against each other. Ideally, Elko coached at Notre Dame with Clark Lee a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, or before Clark, but he was there at Notre Dame before he went and got big time with A&M, then went and got in Duke and came on right back home. But either way, Notre Dame's a better team. They got a veteran quarterback. They're going to escape this game. It's going to be close. It's not going to be a blowout because they don't play that way. But running the football, playing defense, disciplined football, create enough explosive plays. I don't believe that Texas A&M is ready yet, year one, to compete with Notre Dame. So, Vegas, I might be wrong.
Matt, I learned those moves watching them on the sidelines, and that's me telling you, gig them back. Look, I'm calling the upset. A&M takes down Notre Dame in game one. It's coming. Wagman's going to light them up. Notre Dame's going to do their typical smash mouth like that. I don't believe in Notre Dame. And they lost the most beautiful man to ever live last year at quarterback. I mean,
check down Charlie.
Oh man, that dude, you talking
check down Charlie. Check down Sam.
Yeah, you call Sam Hartman check down Charlie. I don't care if he checks down. He was a beautiful man. You just don't lose that kind of looks on the sideline and maintain. So
listen, winning football games is not modeling. It's two different things. But I mean, they got Riley Leonard there.
How's right? Yeah, Riley replaces. So that's.
I think they're going to be just okay.
I'm kind of excited about it, man. I think it's going to be a good game.
It's going to come down to a field goal.
And before we're about to jump into some man. Oh boy, it's good. We'll come back. We'll come back. We'll definitely be able to readdress this come Monday and talk about the week that was and the crazy. And I'll get to tell Smoke will get to tell me, Petty, see, you're an idiot. You're just a fan, and I know this shit.
Yeah, collect receipts. I don't. I just make smart buys.
The only other one, and we're not going to dive on this, watch out for the Miami-Florida game. Miami, again, the ACC's in turmoil. They're trying to get teams in this thing. I don't think Florida's great, but I ain't sold on Miami either. With that said, we've got some fan questions we'd like to get to. First of all, I want to thank you, fans. This is our inaugural show. Thank y'all for showing up. We're going to be here Mondays and Fridays. Check us out, man. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to talk SEC football, national football, all this good stuff. So keep chiming in. Ask your questions from around the country. And my man Smoke, good. If you haven't caught on, he knows his shit. So, Justin, are you going to sling some questions, or I got to go find them things?
Throw them at me, Justin. Here we go.
All right. Question from Southern Red regarding this weekend's game. What do y'all feel the spread will be versus Western Kentucky? Well, Southern Red, I can tell you that real quick. It is, what time's kickoff? 7? Let me do top 25 here. Sorry, you would think a gambler would know this out of the gate, right? Do you know the line off the top, Smoke?
Absolutely not. I don't gamble like that.
Yeah,
see, I told you I shoot dice and play cards. I got a guy for you though.
You got a guy. You know somebody. Alabama is a 32-point favorite, Southern Red, with an over/under of 59. So I don't think the boys in Vegas think the Hilltoppers are going to come down and pose much of a threat against our Tide, which I'm kind of excited, man. I want to see this spread offense against a young secondary. It's going to be a very good, I don't want to say litmus test, but it's going to be a good, I don't even want to call it, it's somewhere between an open practice and a litmus test. You're going to see a live, wide open, some pretty good wide receivers that can make some plays.
First game of the season, I would just temper expectations until we get to about 7.
All right. So 32. Can Lane win the big games? That's the question. So the big games, he's got Georgia coming to Oxford. He's got to go to LSU. He's got Oklahoma coming to Oxford. Ole Miss has got a schedule that is set up to make a run. Those are the 3. What do you think, Smoke? Can Lane pull off?
He'll go 2-1. I don't think he has enough firepower to beat Georgia, but he can go down to Baton. He can do the thing in Baton Rouge, and again, Oklahoma. What a lot of people is not giving an understanding about the SEC. It's not how good you are when you first start the year. It's a battle of attrition. You're going to get beat up. Some of your better players, a la Georgia last year, when they lost Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey for a period of time, and they still won games. So if you're Oklahoma, Tennessee, Alabama, you're going to lose good players. It's just how good is your depth? And I think Georgia's depth is better than a lot of people. So I don't see them having that much issues with Ole Miss. But they'll go 2-1. I'm not a super Lane fan, but the man can coach his tail off.
I see that, and I have a hard time weighing in on Ole Miss because I do think they have the team. I think Lane Kiffin walked off the field against Georgia and said, I could play this game 100 times and not win it once because of what's in the trenches. Yeah. So he went, and Ole Miss kept their keys. They kept Jackson Dart. They kept Trey Harris. Caden Priesthorn's going to have a hell of a year. And then they went and filled pieces, like you said, Walter Nolan on that defensive line, Princely Umamayalin. God, I've tried to pronounce that name 5,000 times to do it right on the show and still screwed it up. But, I mean, they brought in 2 straight-up day-one NFL draft picks. Now the knock on Walter Nolan is he had motor problems. He didn't play every play at Texas A&M. The bill of goods they're selling at Ole Miss is this is a contract year for you, Walter. It's going to help us out, but it's going to help you out more if you show up and play every play. If they can get that out of Walter Nolan, if they can get that out of Princely, if TJ Daughtery, the linebacker transfer from Clemson, and Pooh Paul, the linebacker transfer from Arkansas, can take that defense to the next level, we know Lane's got the offense. I'm with you, Smoke. I think they win 2 or 3 of those games. Ole Miss has a legit shot at 11 wins, and I feel like I'm on crack even saying that. So
they'll be in the playoffs. They're just not going to go undefeated, and you don't have to go undefeated anymore to get in the playoffs. So the days of every week counting, that's what college football just lost. Welcome to the model of the NFL and just win and get in.
I couldn't have said that.
You lost your luster in terms of every week, but you also get it on the back end of your team having hope.
And that's something that Nick Saban always missed about the NFL, that you could lose a game and it not really matter because everybody's going to lose a game in this grind. I think we are going to have a quagmire of 10-2 SEC teams this year. Let's see if I can pull up Georgia Tech.
Yeah, the college football playoffs is going to be it's called the Big Ten and SEC invitation.
Invitational.
Yeah.
All right, Justin. I think I saw one of the questions, so I was trying to pull up. I could give a good answer. If Lane Kiffin's Rebels underperform this season and they don't find a way in the playoffs, would you consider it absolutely?
Absolutely. That's an easy one.
Because look, man, let's be real. Ole Miss saw what pieces they had. I'm not going to rehash them coming back in the offense. They went out and got the pieces they thought they needed to beat Georgia. Let's do it in poker terms. Ole Miss was sitting at the poker table and said, I've got these chips. I'm buying these chips and I'm all in. Yeah, they're not calling this the Last Dance in Oxford for nothing. And, man, that kind of scares you if you're an Ole Miss fan because if you watch The Last Dance, it disbanded after that. So, yeah.
Chips are all in on the table. They ponied up and bought some of the better weapons out there on defensive line. Guys to hunt the quarterback, stop the ball from getting ran down their throat and be more physical. They always Lane is going to score a bunch of points. It's just I'll say this. If Lane Kiffin wants to play the type of ball that he's always played, of snapping the ball within the first 5 to 6 seconds of the game clock, your Walter Nolan is already a 5 in terms of motor. It's going to be a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
Big people need time to rest and to play. So I get the pace that you want to play is high, speed ball, but at some point the defense needs to rest. And it don't matter if you score 100 points. By the end of the year, teams that play that way are worn down and beaten up. That's my 2 cents.
I think you said it out of the gate. The answer is yes. It is an absolute disappointment if Ole Miss doesn't make the final 12. Will we see Texas has to play Michigan week 2? Oh, we will see Texas has to play Michigan week 2. So what are we seeing if Texas is the real deal? But I mean, are we expecting Michigan to, they could be 8-4 this year. Y'all realize that Michigan's about to take a gigantic step back.
Keep it moving on that one. Michigan's the 4th best team in the Big Ten.
What do you guys think of the game against Wisconsin? So bizarre seeing Bama play in Wisconsin at all.
I've been there. The atmosphere is crazy.
Jump around in that 4th quarter, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. Wisconsin does not have enough weapons and enough horses to hold up with Bama. Bama should win that game. 2 touchdowns, and keep on pushing. The only way Bama is a good team. They're just not immortal locks.
We're going to go back to that, huh? We're going to go back to my mortal lock comment.
They got a good team. They got one of the better quarterbacks. They got one of the better offensive lines. Defensive line is there are a bunch of names, a bunch of bodies. We just need to see them play. Secondary is young, unknown, but talented. When you have a team like that, just like you did last year, it takes time to week by week just keep on improving. And if Kalen DeBoer has that recipe for success like Nick has always had and know how to get the best out of his players by the end of the season, yeah, Bama will have an opportunity to play. Will be in the playoffs. But you can easily go 8-4 as well, too.
Well, to Hulkman, I want to, hey, Hulkman, check us out the Thursday night of the Bama-Wisconsin week. I'm actually going to have a reporter for Wisconsin On. We're going to be talking about all stuff that is Wisconsin. So it'll be a good show to kind of find out if you're going up there, where to get a beer, maybe to get a drink, but also find out why he thinks they maybe could be in the game.
Got to keep him coming back. You can't give him everything for every week. You got to get.
And I'm with you, Smoke. But I do think Wisconsin will be a great litmus test to this secondary. Phil Longo, it's not the Wisconsin you're used to seeing with Ron Dane running downhill. They're going to spread it out. It's going to give the secondary a test, and they've got one of the top cornerbacks in the country. Maybe a little bit better of a test than I think, but I'm not high on Wisconsin either. We got more. Here's a question: over or under 8 wins for Georgia Tech this year? I pulled that up, man. I saw that coming up. I'm taking the over. Just beat Florida State. You got Georgia State win. That's 2. Syracuse win 3. Virginia Military 4. At Louisville. Don't know what Louisville. I'm not.
That ain't an easy one.
Not at Louisville. So let's just say 4. Versus Duke at home 5. Exactly. At North Carolina, they're going to be down this year 6. Notre Dame loss. Virginia Tech loss. Miami loss. Ooh.
Hold on. You think they lose at Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech's my sleeper in college football.
Okay,
they've got the most returning most returning starters of any team, and they've got experience. Virginia Tech may win the ACC now, from what I've seen this past week.
I'm just going to tell you like this: what you saw from Brent Key, Florida State's going to see the same thing this week, because Brent Key's mentors are Doug Marrone.
Brent Key's a great coach.
Billy O'Brien. So the same recipe that you saw this week getting cooked, you're going to see that same dish served up to you. Just all depending on if you want to eat it or you want to throw it away, Florida State. But Georgia Tech is going to play tough, physical, sound football on offense and defense. And whenever you play like that, it's always going to give you a chance to hover right about 8, 9, put good teams that want to play sexy, fast, spread them out ball. The issue is when you play that fast, you have to run a bunch of plays. Florida State only ran 61 plays. Why? Because they couldn't convert on third downs. Because
DJ Young, because they've got a mid quarter. When a quarterback transfers for a third time, I go ahead and tell you he's a bust.
We all know that, but this is not DJ U's fault for saying who he is. He's shown you exactly what he's been, what he's going to be. If you want to invest in that and think that you can change it, your fault. But I don't blame DJU for playing exactly like he's going to play. He missed 3 to 4 bad throws, complete whiffs that could have changed the game.
Oh, yeah.
But he's never once showed you that he's capable of making those throws. So Mike Norvell did the right thing by playing the game and calling the game to his strength. But when he took those shot plays, you got to hit those.
Well, to move back to Van's question, Van, they better rack them up because they got 6 wins and then they face Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Miami, NC State, and Georgia. So
if they split those games, they'll be fine.
If they get to 6, they're going to have some upsets on the second half. Yeah. What will Bama's identity be, Smoke?
Your identity is always going to be what your coach is. And what you saw from Kalen DeBoer is a sound, explosive offense. On defense, they're not gonna look like the old Bama where you on third down you have crazy exotic blitz. You're gonna see more simplified concepts in the back end, and I mean coverage wise, and guys playing with their eyes on the quarterback, a little bit more zone than man to man. And I don't know what they're going to be until they show up, but I know they're going to do one thing. They're going to run the ball, and that quarterback has shown you that he can make some plays.
Love it.
No, it's the beauty of college football. We all say what they're going to be in week 1.
Exactly.
And until they show up, just like Florida State's going to have to go back and reevaluate who they are, because what they thought they were, it's not going to, it didn't work.
Nope.
So that's the best thing that you can do. Last year, we thought Bama was going to be one thing. Yeah. What Tommy Rees wanted was not what Jalen Milroe could do.
No.
So you had to go back and start doing so.
That's a whole
after week 1, everyone can have a great book. And Mike Tyson always said it. Everyone wants to come in and fight until they get punched in the face. And then you wake up, then you know you're on the mat.
Nice. I love it, Smoke. I can't, you played for Bama. I'm not going to answer that question any better. So we're going to let that be the answer. Give me y'all's SEC. This is from Jason Calvert, a Tennessee fan up in the chat. I hear you go, Vols. Give me y'all's SEC teams that make the playoffs, Petty and Coach. Well, I think I'll let you.
You already got your immortal locks, so all we need is 3 more.
Yeah, I've got Bama and Georgia. I like 1 and 2.
I'm gonna go Bama, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri.
Okay, I'm going Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, and I'm going with Tennessee. I'm going with you. I'm going with you, Jason. I believe in Nico. I believe in their defense. I believe Tennessee is a program that we haven't heard from a few decades. That's about to be a pain in the ass for all of the SEC. They're like, say what you will, but their athletic program's doing it the right way right now. They were the first program to put sponsorship on their field, and they will not be the last with Pilot. Look, the NIL money can only be propped up by your boosters for so long. You're going to have to start getting it from somewhere else, and you're going to have to get it from businesses. And Tennessee's playing the game, guys. And that's recruiting for later. But I think if Nico is who we think he can be, man, Tennessee's going to be hell on wheels this year.
Yep.
First, Bama, Moon Rocka. Moon Rocka is one of our boys. First Bama development that will surprise quite a few fans. Ooh, good one, Smoke. What you think?
First Bama development that will surprise fans. Rico Scott being an explosive playmaker in terms of receivers.
Love it. I think everybody knows the name Lawson, Jihad Campbell. I think Quay Rusal comes on the scene as one of the top linebackers in college football this year.
I can dig it.
You can dig it? Smoke. Man, that's it's been a hell of a show, man. Hell of a first show. I really appreciate you coming on with me. I look forward to doing this throughout the season with you. We are going to be back on Friday night. Before I mention that, this is opening kick. That means it's Monday night. It's game week. We have shows all week to fill you up. Starting tomorrow with the flagship, the Bama Standard at 7 o'clock with my man Smoke, Justin Riley, Marvin Constant. Actually, Marvin's going to be out this week. We have the man, George Teague.
Great replacement. What a great first. Let me stop you right. Great replacement. Marvin, don't come back.
Marvin, sorry, buddy. I don't think you can catch Lamar Thomas, Marvin.
You talking about a great player and just a guy.
Legend. A great player. Legend, dude.
Legend. Marvin, just a guy. Keep
Marvin,
going.
Dude, now
just
Marvin,
a guy.
Marvin takes his shirt off. He gets a little scary now.
I keep saying, listen, models don't play football. Teague does. Keep it going.
Steve Brown and the man Stephen A. Smith with all the info from inside Alabama. Look, if you aren't watching the flagship, the Bama Standard, you're missing the best. You're missing the shit on this show.
Stephen M. Smith, one of the most talented guys on this whole thing, man.
I said A. I gave him real props there.
Nah, he cut his hair off. He got here. The other guy done. Keep going.
That's right. And then an hour after that, my show, The Final Whistle, Matt Cadell, Chris James, Dan James, Lushawn Graves, Ty, my boy Ty Hayes. We're all there hour after the show cutting up. Stay with us for The Final Whistle Tuesday night. That's going to be at 8 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, we're right back at you with the Crimson Dynasty. Our girl Hannah from earlier is going to be on there with Cici Payne and Dan James. And then an hour after that, the man comes back with Teague's Take. George Teague and his son break down all kind of stuff. They always have amazing guests on their show. Teague's Takes one you need to check out, man. That dude breaks it. He's a legend, and he's spitting legend shit constantly. You need to be watching it. Friday night, be me and my man Smoke back, and I think we're actually going to have Josh Tucker on. We're going to talk a little gambling, talking a little fantasy football. We're going to talk, and we're going to prime you up. It's the red zone. We're going into the final stretch right before the first big games on Saturday, and then Saturday, catch us on the network. This is the game, man. This is the show that always blows up, the post-game show. That's where we will be bringing you the breaking news from the game, our thoughts, our insights. I mean, after you've had your cocktail, you've had your ribs, you've had all your good stuff, come on with us and check us out after the game. And then finally on Sunday night, which was Saturday night, Sunday night Talking Bama with Josh Tucker, JB, Marshall, and the boys. Stephen M. Smith also moonlights on that show. It is at 7 Central on Sunday night. So, guys, we have a jam-packed week for all you guys coming into the season. Be with us all the way through the way. We're excited, man. Season's here. Smoke, again, thank you so much for coming out with us.
Anytime. But listen, on that great show tomorrow, you've missed one of the greatest receivers in Bama history, and the most underrated guy. DJ Hall is going to pull up on us tomorrow.
Who?
DJ Hall is and listen.
I'm sorry, Smoke, go.
I love my guy, Four. You see me representing the Four. Fours always rock together with Tyrone Prothro. But that catch that DJ Hall made against Tennessee, one of the most underrated, greatest catches in college football history. Shout out to my man DJ Hall. Come check us out tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Anything else you want to promote, Smoke? Before we
get out what? I'm not really good on promoting, but I know one thing I'm good at: showing back up here on Friday and getting this thing done right.
See my man Smoke on
back out.
That's right. Hey, see y'all on Friday. Check us out. Peace.
That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.